If you're someone who has ever been interested in seeing a professional dominatrix, today's episode is an important one. I'm sitting down with a guest who had an experience that started kind of normal, but quickly turned into something very different. Dom deception. Hello, my pets, and welcome into The Dungeon, the podcast for submissives to learn, grow, be entertained, and to ultimately find empowerment in their lifestyle of submission. I'm your host, Kat Nash, the Music City Dominatrix, and I'm sharing today's episode not to create fear or shame, but to create awareness. If you're seeking a pro-dom or even just fantasizing about it at this point, this episode could genuinely protect you. So listen closely and let this be a reminder. Real domination is built on consent, transparency, and safety. So let's get into it.
I started seeing dominatrixes when I was, I think, 19 years old. Because, like, when I was younger, like 18, like, nobody would want to see me.
What do you mean? Oh, pros wouldn't
No.
when you're 18, but
Yeah.
19 was the magic number?
Yeah, 19 somehow
Okay.
was the magic number.
Okay.
Yeah, everything changed. So I started seeing dominatrixes when I was 19. We had a few sessions together, and then I would kind of drop off for like 5 years, 4 years, something like that. And then, start my search all over again, trying to find someone else as like I moved around and
So it like satiated your kink fix for a few sessions, and then you went a couple of years without it before you like wanted to experience it again.
exactly. So that's kind of like what I did over the years until somewhat recently, like I think 5 years ago, I believe, like I had like the incident, like the kind of scary incident that I had trying to find a dominatrix.
You're about to tell us about that. So this was 5 years ago. You'd had good experiences up until that point.
Yeah, everything was pretty good, pretty, simple. It's like you found someone online, exchange a couple emails. Sometimes I would meet beforehand and we, just to see, like, check each other out, like, see if we vibe together and whatnot. And then, eventually, like, sometimes same day or sometimes, like, the next day or following week, we would have a session or something. This time was a little bit different. I moved to Nashville. I was only here a couple years. And that's like kind of like when I started the hunt again for another dominatrix.
Where did you look?
I think this time I did look at like Eros. I did check on that, I think. And then I think Backpage Personals or something was still around. And so I was looking on Backpage, and that's where I found this one in particular. Like I saw her listing. And then, like, I was going through everything. It's like, the things she likes, doesn't like, all that kind of stuff. So I was like, okay, this sounds good. Like, pictures. She didn't, like, all of her pictures were blurred. And, like, I don't mind that because, like, I kind of feel like people that, like, blur their pictures are kind of, like, they're
Discreet?
more
maybe?
discreet.
Yeah,
That's a good
gotcha.
word. Yeah, exactly. They're a little more discreet. So I kind of, like, look for those. And so I found this one. And we started exchanging some emails, and the interesting thing about this one was like she wanted like a lot more personal information to like make sure I wasn't like a cop or something, and some of the information was like photo ID, and like she wanted to see like my address, and then she wanted to see a piece of mail that had my address on it. So I was like, okay, whatever, if it makes someone more comfortable, like whatever. Like I didn't think too much of it at the time. So I did those two forms of identification.
You showed your driver's license and some mail.
I showed
Okay.
my driver's license and some mail. Like, hindsight, I probably shouldn't have done that. But I was on a mission.
Okay, so how long after you verified your identity with her was it until you actually met up with her?
I think it was almost the same day.
Okay.
I might be misremembering, but I'm pretty sure it's like I contacted in the morning, and by that evening I was going to have a session.
Okay.
After all that.
Did you submit money beforehand?
No, I did not.
Okay, so you were bringing cash.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I was bringing cash with me. Yeah. So we talked for a little while on through email, showed everything, and then like asking a few things about kinks. Is this good? This bad? I was like, pretty normal exchange there. And then when it came time for the session, she gave me an address. It was a hotel, like an Embassy Suites over there close to the airport, Nashville airport. So I drove to the address, and she gave me a room number and everything. So I walk into this Embassy Suites. I go to the room number, and I'm standing in front of this door, knocking on it, and waiting for someone to answer, and nobody answers the door. So after like a minute or two, I go, okay, something's not right. So I go back to the texting and realize that I was at the wrong hotel. But like from the directions that was given, like I should have been at the right place. Like she was pointing at Embassy Suite, so I thought that was kind of interesting. So I was like, okay. And then from her tone on the text messages, like she was kind of getting frustrated, like I was doing something wrong.
Well, you went to the wrong hotel.
But that's like the hotel she gave me.
But then you just said you looked back and...
Yeah, I was looking at the message like to see...
And then you discovered that you went to the wrong one.
Yeah, like according to like the address, like I was at the right spot.
So she said the name of one hotel and gave the address of a different one?
Yes, like she never said Embassy Suites, she just gave me the address. So I put that into the GPS and it brought me to the Embassy Suites. Okay. Which was just like, a stone's throw away from the actual hotel that she went to. So we ended up talking on the phone for a minute. And from the pictures, like I could tell by her voice didn't match her pictures, kind of. Like you can kind of tell a little bit. So I was like, something does kind of seem fishy, but I didn't go with my gut. And I was like, I made a commitment. I said I was going to be here. So I just kind of was like, okay, whatever. I'll drive down the road and go to this other hotel. So I talked to her on the phone just for a brief minute. And she was like, hurry up, kind of like trying to move me along. So I left the Embassy Suites, drove down the road to this airport hotel. I mean, it was kind of a dive. I mean, it kind of was more like a motel than a hotel. She gave me another room number, and I was trying to find the room.
She gave you a different room number?
She gave me a different room number than the one she was actually at, the hotel. So the hotel kind of had like a courtyard in the middle. Like it was actually kind of similar to like Embassy Suites, if anybody's ever been there. It's like a big open courtyard in the middle, and you can kind of like see people on the opposite side of the hotel. So it's kind of similar, this hotel was, except it was all outdoors, and there was like a swimming pool in the middle, and then there was, stairway on one side, and then a couple of breezeways to get from one side to the other. So I was up on the opposite side, walking up the stairs, trying to find this hotel room, and I was on the phone with her at the time, and she was being pretty quiet, but like, just waiting. And then once I got to like the same level she was on, then she gave me the proper hotel room, which was across the way. So like if they were looking out the window, she could have seen me. Like
she was probably scoping you out.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. I finally walk across the breezeway and knock on the door, and the door opens up real quick, and I kind of get grabbed from like my shirt and kind of like pulled into this hotel room, and boom, the door shuts. And from that second, I knew things weren't all what they seemed. So I started to get worried a little bit. I just knew immediately, like...
It was this like, oh shit moment.
Yeah, it was definitely, for sure. And the room was kind of gross. Cigarette butts and just, real heavy cigarette smell in the room. And the girl that was in front of me was not the one that was in the picture at all. Like it was day and night, literally from like the picture. So as soon as like the door shut, I was like, okay, I need to figure out how to get out of here. And that's kind of like when it started going south. I was like, oh, sorry, I think, this is not going to work. I forgot exactly what I said, or I was at the door, but I was trying to kind of like
get the fuck out.
Open the door up and kind of get out. But she pushed me up against the door, so I couldn't open the door because here she was in front of me. I'm 6'2", and she was probably about like 5'10", 5'9" maybe. But she was a pretty big girl. Like she could easily like.
She could overpower you.
Easily.
Yeah.
And so she had me against the door. I couldn't open it, and she was. Then she started demanding money, saying that like you're wasting my time.
So wait, what you described so far a woman, a dominatrix, yanking you into the hotel room, slamming you against the door. I mean, that doesn't sound too far off from what might actually happen in a normal dominatrix session. So it's the main thing was that she was not the person that she looked like in the pictures.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Totally different. And it felt like, it felt dangerous, and like, it didn't feel like a dominatrix session. Like, sure, like she was like, pushing, like, being physical and stuff like that. But I don't think she was a dominatrix at all.
Okay, so she got you, take us back to, she's got you slammed against the door, and what's happening at this point?
Okay, she has me slammed against the door, and I'm trying to open it, but she's putting pressure on me against the door, so I can't really move. And then she starts kind of reaching for my wallet because I want to leave. So she was like, okay, just give me the money and like you can go. So I started feeling like this is like kind of like the scam. Like this is what normally happens because like, a person comes up to a room, not what they expect, they want to leave. And I feel like I wasn't the first person that this has happened to. And I feel like most people just kind of probably just like paid the money and left because like you're not going to call the police. You're not going to like report like, what's happening. Like,
yeah.
Just because you're just not going to do it. I mean, most people. So she kept trying to grab my wallet from my back pocket. And then at the same time, I was kind of pushing myself against the door just to keep her hands away from my back pocket. And that's when she started kind of getting violent. She actually did start getting violent. And she started hitting me in the neck and like side of the face.
Like punching, closed fists?
Punching, closed fists, yeah. I mean, I could take a punch, but like, yeah, so she started hitting me a few times, demanding money, and I would say no, and then she'd do it a few more times. And then that kind of kept going back and forth for what felt like a long time, but, probably was like a minute or two. And then I kept saying no and no. And then at the same time, I was kind of thinking about how to get out of the room. Like, what do you do in this situation? Can you like break a window, but there's bars on the window, so I was pretty.
There were bars on the windows.
There's bars on the window, so I was pretty locked into this room. So once she realized that I wasn't going to give her the money, it was the hotel room was one of those rooms that were like adjacent to another room, and all of a sudden
they had like a door that's open to the other room.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden the door cracked, and a deeper voice comes through, saying they have a gun. Give her the money. And it was a deeper voice, so I immediately thought, I was like, oh no, here's another, some dude in this door. And you couldn't see because like the room was dark in the adjacent room, and the room I was in was pretty dark except for like some sunlight that like kind of still shone through. So then they started demanding money, telling me to cough it up or they're gonna shoot. And in my head I was like, are someone really gonna shoot somebody over a few $100s? So that was kind of running through my head. Like in hindsight, like, yeah, probably there's people out there that would do that. But at the time I was like, no way. Like, nobody's going to shoot. Plus this, the girl that like pulled me into the room was kind of in front of me and
between you and the other person. Okay.
Yeah. So I was like, they have to be a dang good shot to like not hit the other girl. So I kind of felt like they were just, just another threat. So I kept saying the same thing. I mean, it was pretty stupid at the time, like when I think back about it. But I started saying, "Shoot, then," I mean, it was pretty stupid.
Did you?
I did. I feel stupid saying it, but like I did say that because I was just so.
You're pissed at this
point.
Yeah,
I was pissed. Like. I was like, "What's?" I didn't want to get. I felt like I was getting scammed. They kept saying, just give her the money, give her the money. I was like, no, and I was like, if you're gonna shoot, that kind of thing. So that lasted probably another minute maybe, and then all of a sudden I think they just finally gave up, and the door flies open and another woman comes out pretty much all naked except like maybe like I think they had like a bathrobe on or like a kimono, something like that, but real thin. She comes out, so it wasn't a man at all, it was another girl, and then another girl comes out, so there's 3 girls total, and they were all kind of like laughing. They were like trying to make fun of the whole situation, like saying, oh, it's no big deal. And then they were like, are you sure you don't want anything? Is there anything we can do? And I was kind of like, no, I just want to leave. And then the one girl that was like telling me to cough up the money, the one that said they had a gun, was just like, fine, just let him go.
Let him go.
Just let him go. Yeah, and then that's when
Wow. And that's a big indicator right there that it wasn't really like a dominatrix like prank thing. The let him go aspect means to me that it really was some sort of corrupt scam and that they had no intention of having a session with you. It was all about robbing you.
That's what I think it was, and I think if I would have said like, okay, we can still do something, I think it would have been more like prostitution
Yeah.
style like
Yeah.
thing, and like I wasn't that wasn't I didn't want any part of that. Like that wasn't what I was looking for. Like so then, yeah, they let me open the door and I walked away.
You ran the fuck out of there, didn't you? Or did
I walked.
you?
I
You
walked.
did?
Yeah, I walked. I walked right out of there. I did feel. I mean, it was kind of. I mean, maybe I should have given him something because I did kind of get a high after that, which is
Did
kind of
you?
weird. Yeah, I did.
Well,
I
I'm
was
sure-
on like an adrenaline rush.
No doubt. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of the same neurotransmitters, the neurochemicals were pumping through you in that moment as they do in a dominatrix session.
So I kind of got. I mean, maybe a little bit, but yeah. I mean, I do not want to repeat that ever again. And yeah, I would. Yeah, definitely not recommend it because it was terrifying.
Yet after that experience, you still went on to meet other dominatrixes.
I did not for a while though.
Yeah.
Like I can't recall how long it was. I think it was like maybe a year or two before I was just like, yeah, that was too close. Because I just moved up here to Nashville. I didn't know anybody. I didn't have friends, anything. So like, if something would have happened, like, you know, I could have disappeared and nobody would.
Yeah.
Nobody would know until.
So when you went to find a dominatrix the next time after that, what did you take any safeguards to ensure that it was more legit?
The next time I found somebody was we met in a parking lot, but we actually met. You know, like I pulled up next to her vehicle. She told me to pop into her vehicle, open the door, and then we just talked for a while. Yeah, we talked in the parking lot. So like she immediately, I knew she was the one in the pictures and everything.
Okay, you could see before you went in, and it wasn't like a close. I mean, I still feel like it's kind of perhaps foolish in that after that situation to hop in somebody else's car.
It is, but like there's just not really. I mean, as a guy, like trying to find like a dominatrix, you're kind of at the mercy of whoever you're talking to. It's whatever they normally do and how to make them feel comfortable. Because, you know, especially if you're trying to do a session, bring them to your home or wherever, studio, wherever you're going to have it, they're still trying to make sure that you're legit as well and not some psycho or whatever.
Yeah. And that is definitely a legitimate concern of the professional dominatrix. But you do broach on a very good point that it's important for submissive clients to ensure their safety as well. So any sort of advice or anything like that for people who want to seek a professional dominatrix but don't want to have an experience like that, what advice would you give? Number one, meet in a public place that's not an enclosed hotel room. All right. What else?
I guess the main thing is just don't rush it. Because a lot of times, like, I mean, coming from like a guy's perspective, at least me, because like it takes such a long time before I meet another dominatrix and have like a session with them. Like you kind of get excited and like you may kind of
overrides your common sense. You're thinking with
and I think it does
not your head.
Yeah, exactly. I think that does happen, but probably to like a lot more guys because I'm assuming that the like the situation that I got in, I'm positive like I wasn't the first.
Yeah.
And I think that like that probably was the deal is like either someone came up to the room, they just okay, this is what it is, whatever, or they just paid the money and left, and you know. Yeah. And I feel like that cycle was just going to keep going and going and going until because you know nobody's going to call the police. No, there's nothing. There's no one's going to do anything like that. Yeah. But I definitely think it's good to meet in a public place. Don't rush it. Dominatrix is offering like a coffee meetup or something like that. Just go ahead and do it. Because first, I mean, you might not vibe with the person at all, and like, or they might not like the kinks that you're looking for may not be, you know, something that they would do in the first place. So you might as well just talk it out, figure it out, and take your time. Yeah. Before jumping into something. So
what do you think about then the dominant? Because I feel like a lot of that is conversation that you have even before the meetup. Like for me, I will make sure that baseline we have symbiotic kinks before meeting up for a coffee date or out in public somewhere. Do you think that there's specific websites that are more legit, or how do you go about finding them?
That one that we talked about,
Eros.
Eros, yeah. Eros, I don't think does like BDSM stuff anymore. Because they used to have like a BDSM tab. But now it's just, I guess, FetLife and maybe like Tryst has like a BDSM tab. And I think if those two services are pretty much it for like people in the US and stuff like that, if you're looking for a dominatrix.
And you feel like those are pretty trustworthy places to find someone?
Yeah, Tryst seems pretty good because I think that the people putting up the ads or the ads, I think they have to do some sort of verification on the other end to make sure that they're like a legit person. And so I think that one's, if you're looking, like that one's pretty legit. And then also like FetLife is probably a good resource if you can somehow find the dominatrix in the first place. Because FetLife doesn't seem to have like a good like way to search for that. Unless like you're in the area kind of like, you might in the same like kink circles or groups. I don't really use FetLife too much, but
yeah, there's a good research on FetLife. The woman's name is just Domina. I think it's like _Domina_, but she collects resources of professional dominatrixes by state and also has lists of various other femdom resources. So she's a good one to just as a resource. But okay, so, and then finally, any guy out there who would love to go check out a professional dominatrix, but hasn't or is afraid to, and is perhaps even now more afraid after this episode, what do you have to say to that guy?
Oh, don't let my situation was unique, and and like Backpage, it was a pretty sketchy site at the time, but like that's because like there wasn't that many places to look as there is. Like seems like now like there's more verifiable places. Like there's still, I'm sure you can find sketchy websites and stuff like that to like, get into a situation like I did. But now if you use Tryst or FetLife and like, you see pictures and profile and discussion, and you can feel more confident about the person you're going to meet. But yeah, don't let that dissuade you or like, searching out. Yeah, having fun. Yeah.
So do your homework and then have fun.
Exactly.
So I hope you enjoyed today's episode and maybe came out of it with a little bit more insight into what to do and what not to do in the future. Please like and subscribe to stay tuned to my next episodes. Feel free to reach out to me with any comments, questions, or show ideas. Hopefully, I'm hoping to have more guests on in the future in this season. You can find me at www.kat-nash.com or find me on FetLife. I'm just Kat Nash, KatNash, or email me directly, thewildcreatrix@gmail.com. Thank you for joining me this week. I'll see you next week. And as always, stay kinky, my pets.